Hello and welcome to Some Gear No Idea. So today I'm looking at a USB 3 hub, and what usually happens with me is something breaks and I start having a look into it, and before I know it, I'm halfway through, and then I realise, I should have fired up the camera to record it for the channel. So I stopped what I was doing and I thought, yeah, I'll just fire up the camera. So this is a USB 3 hub. I've not had it that long. Now, the USB 3 portion of it works fine, and I was able to, I was using it and it was fine. What happened was I put a USB 2 device in, and for some reason it just didn't work. And I couldn't understand why. So I tried a different computer, and it just didn't work. So the USB 2 device I plugged in, powered up, it was fine. And I checked it again with another USB 3, and again it was fine. So I started prodding around, having a look underneath the board, under the microscope. And unfortunately, I didn't record it, but I didn't see anything anyway. There's a couple of points on the board which you might not be able to see, but a couple of these points are actually soldered, and they're just the returning clips. One half is, one half isn't. This end one here isn't soldered at all, so I will throw a bit of solder on that later on. But I was tracing the points and I just couldn't see anything. I couldn't see any missing traces. So then I turned my attention to the plug end. Now this was covered with hot glue, so I peeled that off, and I noticed that the black wire here, the ground wire, seemed to be touching the others. This blue one in particular, which you might not be able to see, but it's a blue one down there. And so I cleared it off and tried it again, and it still wasn't anything. So what I did then was I was trying to get a probe lead into the bottom of the USB. So on a USB 3, you actually have two sets of connectors. And unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to see this. But if I find a diagram, I'll put one on the page for you. But you have a front set of connectors, which is essentially USB 2, and the back ones are the USB 3 portion, so you're using more pins for the USB 3. So on a USB 2 you have a positive and a ground, and then your two data pins. Now I think from probing around that on this board it's these last two, so it's a green and white one that are the data pins, and obviously there'll be a red and a black for the positive and the negative, if you will. So what I'm going to do is try and probe around and see whether it's this wire. I've probed from these points around the board, and they seem to be fine. So yeah, I don't think it's that. I don't know if it's this wire. So this is actually, it's quite new, and it doesn't look, the wire's not damaged at all. So the way I'm going to do that is I've got this old dead Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to plug, if it works of course, I'm going to plug this into here, which will, because trying to get the multimeter probe in here is an absolute nightmare. So I'm going to plug it into there, and hopefully that'll give me access to these pins here, and obviously this here. So I will grab my multimeter, put it into continuity mode, and let's have a probe about. I'm going to try and do this in under the camera, which is difficult, but here we go. So test of the continuity of the meter to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now I'm not sure which row of these it is, so we'll start with this row. So I think it's going to be one of these two middle ones. I don't think it's going to be that, but so I'm going to try this one. Nothing. Try that one. Okay, so this one here is the green wire. So let's try, so I'm assuming that, well, let's try this one actually. Yeah, so that's the ground. This side Yeah, is the live. So this one here, I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, it's not very clear, but this one here, it is doing absolutely nothing. And I'm thinking that it should be this white wire. So the only way I can think to test this, let's turn that off, would be to get another USB 2 plug and plug it and solder it to these sort of 4 points. So I've got over here, I've got an old USB plug. I tend to keep stuff like this. So I'm wondering that if I strip the ends off and solder it onto these points here, whether this will become essentially a USB 2 hub. And if that does work and I do get a USB 2, then I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to fix it, except to try and get a USB 3 lead. And I'm, you know, that could be what I have to do. Because I don't think, just get some tweezers, you know, it doesn't look particularly damaged, and I would have assumed that just touching it here, somewhere on the white, in fact, actually, I wonder if I could do that. So let's put the meter back on. Actually, just touch the wire rather than the connector. No. I've no idea where this break could be. I mean, I suppose what I should do really is kind of inspect this wire for any splits or breaks. I mean, there's a few bend marks on it, and obviously this is where when it was folded up for its delivery. Nothing is kind of jumping out at me to say that this has been cut or split. What I'm going to do, I think, if this works, and you know, using this this one turns it into a USB 2 port, what I might do is just make various kind of incisions and see whether I can test at various points, see where it's failed. I mean, it could even be right at the end in the plug. I can't. Maybe if I put it under the microscope, but looking at it with the naked eye, it looks fine. I can't see anything that would. Hello, so I'm not quite sure where I'm up to be honest. I haven't had time to look back at the other video, and it's actually been a few days. So what I've done is, I think if I recall correctly, I was putting on another cable, a USB 2 cable to see whether I could just get the USB 2 portion working by sort of piggybacking onto these pins. So that didn't work, and there's probably an obvious reason why. It'll be to do with this chip, and I had them both plugged in just in case to see what it did, but no, it didn't do anything. So after I'd looked at this cable, I noticed that, and you have to forgive me because I can't remember, but one of these pins didn't, they had no continuity between sort of this end and the actual kind of plug end. So what I did was I actually bought a USB extension lead for a couple of pounds, and what I'm going to do is chop a bit off, solder these pins on, and so essentially replacing this cable. No idea if it's going to work or not, but it's worth a shot. So what I'm going to do is I'll go into time lapse and just kind of put this cable on. I'm hoping that the colours are the same because I haven't got a clue. But I'll go into time lapse and see where we go from there. Again, it's been a few days. This video's took far longer than it should have to complete. So the USB 2 portion didn't work. Plugging that in didn't work. I'm assuming it's because it's got an onboard chip, and even though I had both of the cables plugged in, that didn't work. However, I think last time I recorded, I was putting a cut-up extension cable onto the device, which I've done. So that's in, and I'm actually pleased to say it works. So the only thing I can take from that is that it was that pin that was in here that just, it was broken. Now, what I did was, I haven't got the old cable to show you. It's I think I've moved it. But what I did was put incisions and various points to test. And up until about here, which is when I give up, it was working. So it could just have been the plug that was at fault. But I'm going to count that as a win. It was I think this was about £3, I think, for the extension. It wasn't expensive. So I'm going to call that a win, and it works. So USB 2 works, USB 3 works. Unfortunately, I haven't the cable isn't long enough for me to plug it into a computer to show you it lighting up. So you'll just have to take my word for it that it works. The other side of this, that I will utilize somewhere else. I'll figure something out and it'll get used. I tend not to throw anything away, especially bits of cables and whatnot. I don't throw them away, so it will get used. But I'm happy to say that it's working, which is really good. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that noise. That was my CCTV whinging that it couldn't access the network. But anyway, that's fixed. So yeah, I'm happy that that's solved. So now it's on to the next thing to repair. Not sure what that is at the moment. Nothing at the moment is broken, but everything does break eventually. So I'm sure there'll be more videos on some gear no idea to come. But I look forward to making more videos for the channel and hopefully getting more subscribers and a bit of a community of repairing things. Obviously anything I do isn't the best way to do it. It's just getting stuff working and it shouldn't be taken as a tutorial, but hopefully you've enjoyed the video. So like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.